Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something that, it sounds a little niche at first,
Yeah.
but it actually affects almost any large building you walk into.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those invisible backbone technologies you never really think about until it breaks.
Right, because, we've all plugged an HDMI cable into a TV at home. Super easy.
Right.
But scale that same task up to, say, a sports bar with 50 screens or a massive corporate control room, and suddenly that one simple cable becomes a complete logistical nightmare.
It really is the classic installer's dilemma. You want pristine video quality, but you absolutely do not want to run fragile, expensive video cables 300 feet through a drop ceiling if you can avoid it.
Which brings us to our source material today. We are pulling intel from a detailed product overview by HDTVSUPPLY on the Kramer KDS-DEC3 H.264 Decoder. And our mission here for you listening is to unpack how this specific device bridges the gap between old-school AV and modern networking.
And looking at the specs, the very first thing that jumps out is the infrastructure. Because this isn't just about playing a video, it's about how that video actually gets there.
Right, it's designed to work with a partner encoder.
It's a KDS-EN3, yeah. It takes H.264 signals up to 1080p at 60 Hz and decodes them. But the real kicker is that it does all of this over standard Ethernet. We are talking standard 10, 100, or 1,000 megabit networks.
So you aren't building a completely new proprietary video network, you're just riding the rails that are already in the walls.
Precisely. It treats the video strictly as data packets, but what makes this specific unit so fascinating and where I think installers really pay attention is the integrated network switch.
I saw that in the overview. And I have to admit, integrated switch sounds a bit dry, but when you realize what it allows, it's actually huge. It lets you daisy chain the units.
It is a massive deal for logistics. Think of it less like a star topology where you have to run a separate home run cable from the server room all the way out to every single TV.
Which is incredibly expensive.
Right, and more like a bus line. You plug the network into the first decoder, and then you just jump a cable from that decoder to the next one and then the next one.
Saving an absolute fortune on labor. But playing devil's advocate here, doesn't that terrify IT folks? If one link in the chain breaks, doesn't the whole line just go down?
That is the usual risk with daisy chaining, yeah. But Kramer seems to have anticipated that exact reliability anxiety. They included a feature specifically called fail-safe video playback.
Sounds like an insurance policy for your screens.
Basically, yes. If the connection to the encoder drops because of a network glitch or a loose cable, the decoder doesn't just display a no-signal blue screen.
Or just go totally black.
Exactly. It triggers a protocol to keep something on the screen.
Which preserves the illusion of professionalism. Because for digital signage, a black screen essentially screams that something is broken.
Absolutely. Now, beyond just keeping the video running, there's the question of control. How do you actually manage a whole fleet of these things? The documentation mentions RS-232 virtualization.
Which is sort of the gateway feature, right?
It bridges the gap. You can send a command like power on from the server room, inject it into the network, and the decoder spits it out as a physical serial command right to the TV.
So you are effectively controlling non-networked TVs over the network.
Yes. Plus, they use the KDS-EN3 manager software to handle auto detection, so you aren't sitting there manually typing in IP addresses for 50 separate units.
I also noticed it supports both unicast and multicast via RTSP.
RTSP being real-time streaming protocol, and that distinction is crucial for network health. Unicast is like a private phone call, one source to one screen.
While multicast is more like a radio broadcast where one source is blasting to 100 screens at once.
Exactly. This device handles both, so you aren't clogging up bandwidth sending the exact same packet 20 separate times if you don't have to.
And it's not just video, it handles the audio side too.
It's quite versatile there. It carries audio via HDMI naturally, but it also has an analog unbalanced stereo output. So if you need to strip that audio out to a separate sound system, say ceiling speakers,
instead of the built-in TV speakers.
Right, you can do that right at the decoder. Plus, it has scaling and cropping capabilities. So if the aspect ratio is weird, you can force the image to perfectly fit the display.
It's basically a Swiss Army knife. At a price point around $956, it's definitely pro-grade gear. But it essentially replaces a scaler, a cable extender, and a control processor all at once.
It really cements the idea that we are shifting away from dedicated video cabling to IT-centric solutions. Video is just another data stream now.
Standard compression on standard networks to deliver professional results.
That is the ultimate takeaway here.
Which leads to a wild thought to wrap this up for you. If these decoders have built-in switches and can be daisy-chained endlessly, Are we moving toward a future where the building material itself is the network? Where you don't wire a room, you just plug a screen into the wall literally anywhere, and the wall itself carries the signal to the next brick. It makes the smart building concept feel a whole lot more literal. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today, and stay curious.